Blood pounded in Mia's ears as she frantically jabbed the elevator button, the footsteps behind her growing louder. The doors slid open just as her ex-boyfriend's voice called her name, that familiar tone that once made her heart flutter now sending ice through her veins. She lunged inside, colliding with a tall stranger whose strong hand steadied her as the doors closed on Tyler's furious face. In that moment, as she looked up into kind eyes that seemed to see straight through her carefully constructed walls, Mia had no idea this chance encounter would not only save her from her past but give her the courage to reclaim her future. If you've ever felt trapped by someone who made you smaller, this story might just change your life. Like and subscribe to follow Mia's journey from a woman in hiding to someone who finally learns to stand tall again. The elevator hummed softly as Mia tried to catch her breath. Her hands trembled as she pressed herself against the wall, as far from the doors as possible. The stranger watched her with concern, his brow furrowed. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice deep and gentle. Mia nodded automatically, the lie so practiced it came without thought. She'd been saying she was fine for 3 years with Tyler, even when she wasn't. Even when he criticized her clothes, her friends, her dreams. Even when he'd slowly convinced her that her ambitions were silly, that she needed him to succeed, that without him she was nothing. "You don't look okay," the stranger said, not unkindly. He wore a simple button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms marked with colorful tattoos that disappeared beneath the fabric. His eyes were the warm brown of coffee with just enough cream, and they held no judgment, only concern. The elevator stopped on the 5th floor, but no one was waiting. The doors closed again, and they continued upward. "I'm fine," Mia said, her voice smaller than she intended. "Just avoiding someone." The stranger nodded, understanding immediately. "The guy who was calling after you?" Mia looked down at her shoes, sensible flats that Tyler had approved of because heels were trying too hard and sneakers were sloppy. She'd once loved bright colors and bold patterns. Now her entire wardrobe was muted, unobtrusive. Like she'd become. "My ex," she admitted. "I ran into him downstairs. I wasn't expecting to see him here." The elevator dinged as it reached the 10th floor. The stranger made no move to exit. "Which floor are you headed to?" he asked. 14, Mia replied. "The publishing company. I have an interview." Something flickered in the stranger's eyes, surprise, maybe interest. "Horizon Publishing?" Mia nodded, suddenly self-conscious. The interview was for an editorial assistant position. Nothing special. Nothing like the writing career she'd once dreamed of. Tyler had called her writing childish, had laughed at her stories until she'd stopped sharing them, then stopped writing them altogether. "I'm headed there too," the stranger said with a smile that transformed his serious face. "I'm Leo, by the way. Leo Mercer." Mia's eyes widened. "The Leo Mercer? The editor?" His smile turned sheepish. "Guilty as charged." Mia felt her cheeks flush. Leo Mercer was something of a legend in publishing circles. He had an uncanny ability to spot talent, to nurture writers others had overlooked. And he was going to be in her interview. "I'm Mia Chen," she said, extending her hand automatically, then wincing as she realized how clammy her palm was. If Leo noticed, he didn't show it. His handshake was firm but not overpowering. "Nice to meet you, Mia Chen. Though I wish it were under better circumstances." The elevator stopped again on the 12th floor. An older woman entered, glanced between them, and smiled knowingly before facing the doors. Mia realized how they must look, her, disheveled and flushed, him, tall and concerned, standing closer than strangers normally would. When they reached the 14th floor, Leo gestured for Mia to exit first. The receptionist at Horizon Publishing greeted Leo warmly, then turned to Mia. "Ms. Chen? You're a bit early for your interview. Would you like some water while you wait?" Mia nodded gratefully, still feeling shaken from her encounter with Tyler. As she took a seat in the waiting area, Leo paused before heading down the hallway. "Ms. Chen," he said formally, aware of the receptionist's curious gaze. "I look forward to our conversation later." With that, he disappeared around the corner, leaving Mia to wonder if her chance at this job was already ruined. How professional had she seemed, bursting into an elevator in panic, practically assaulting one of the company's senior editors. She took a deep breath, trying to center herself the way her therapist had taught her. One encounter with Tyler shouldn't derail everything she'd worked for since leaving him 6 months ago. The interview was scheduled with 3 editors, including Leo. When Mia was called in, she smoothed her simple black skirt, another Tyler-approved item, and walked into the conference room with her shoulders back, chin up, the way she'd practiced. Leo sat at the center of the table, flanked by 2 women he introduced as Sophia Winters and Amara Okafor, both senior editors in different departments. His smile was professional, giving no indication of their earlier encounter. "Ms. Chen," Sophia began, "your resume is quite impressive. You graduated top of your class from NYU's English program, and your references from your internship at Baxter Literary Agency are glowing." Mia nodded, trying not to show her surprise. Tyler had always dismissed her academic achievements, suggesting she'd only succeeded because her professors felt sorry for her. "Thank you," she said, her voice steadier than she expected. "I learned a great deal at Baxter, especially about what makes a manuscript stand out in a crowded market." The interview proceeded smoothly. Mia answered questions about her organizational skills, her familiarity with publishing software, her ability to manage multiple projects. She began to relax, to remember why she'd wanted this job in the first place, to be surrounded by stories, to help shape them, to be part of bringing them into the world. Then Leo leaned forward slightly. "Ms. Chen, I notice you have a creative writing minor, but there's no mention of your own writing in your application. Do you write?" The question hit Mia like a physical blow. She felt her confidence waver, heard Tyler's mocking laughter in her head. "Your characters are so one-dimensional, Mia. Maybe stick to reading books instead of trying to write them." "I used to," she admitted, hating how small her voice sounded again. "Not anymore." Leo's expression remained neutral, but something in his eyes, disappointment, perhaps, made Mia wish she'd answered differently. "That's a shame," he said simply, before Amara asked the next question about Mia's experience with social media marketing. By the time the interview ended, Mia felt drained but cautiously optimistic. She'd answered most questions well, had demonstrated her knowledge of the industry. Only Leo's question about her writing had thrown her off balance. "Thank you for coming in, Ms. Chen," Sophia said, standing to shake Mia's hand. "We'll be in touch within the week." As Mia gathered her portfolio, Leo spoke up. "Actually, I have a few more questions for Ms. Chen about her experience with manuscript evaluation. Would you mind staying a moment longer?" The other editors exchanged glances but nodded and left the room. When the door closed behind them, Leo's professional demeanor softened. "Are you feeling better?" he asked, genuine concern in his voice. Mia nodded, embarrassed. "I'm sorry about earlier. That wasn't very professional of me." Leo waved away her apology. Running into an ex can be jarring. Especially one you're afraid of. His perception startled her. "I didn't say I was afraid of him." "You didn't have to." Leo's gaze was steady. "I recognized the look. My sister had the same one whenever her ex-husband showed up unexpectedly." Mia looked down at her hands, unsure how to respond. She wasn't used to being seen so clearly. "For what it's worth," Leo continued, "you did well in the interview. Your qualifications are exactly what we're looking for." "Thank you," Mia said, relief washing through her. "This job means a lot to me." Leo nodded, then hesitated before asking, "Why did you stop writing?" The question caught her off guard again. It wasn't very good." "Says who?" Tyler's voice echoed in her mind, "This is amateur hour, Mia. No one wants to read this fantasy drivel. It doesn't matter, Mia said, standing to leave. I'm applying to be an editorial assistant, not a writer. Leo stood as well, his height making the conference room feel suddenly smaller. It matters if someone made you believe you weren't good enough. Because that person was wrong. Mia froze, her hand on her portfolio. You don't know that. You've never read my writing. I know talent when I see it, Leo said simply. And I know what it looks like when someone has been convinced to hide their light. My job isn't just finding good manuscripts, Ms. Chen. It's helping writers believe in themselves enough to finish those manuscripts in the first place. Something in his words pierced the protective shell Mia had built around herself. Tears pricked at her eyes, and she blinked them back furiously. I should go, she said, her voice thick. Leo nodded, not pushing further. Of course. But Mia? He waited until she looked up at him. If you get this job, and I suspect you will, I hope you'll consider sharing your writing with me someday. No pressure, no judgment. Just one reader who believes you have something worth saying. Mia left the interview in a daze, Leo's words echoing in her mind. As she waited for the elevator, she checked her phone and found 3 missed calls from Tyler. Her stomach clenched. He must have followed her to the building, must have figured out where she was interviewing. The thought made her feel sick. The elevator arrived, mercifully empty this time. Mia stepped inside and pressed the lobby button, then leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted. The doors were about to close when a hand shot between them, forcing them open again. Tyler stepped inside, his handsome face tight with anger. You're ignoring my calls now? Mia's heart hammered against her ribs. What are you doing here, Tyler? I saw you run into this building. He moved closer, his cologne, once so appealing to her, now cloying and suffocating. You didn't even say hello. After everything we've been through. We broke up, Mia said, trying to keep her voice steady. 6 months ago. I don't owe you anything. Tyler's laugh was cold. Is that what you tell yourself? That you don't owe me for all the times I helped you, supported you, made you better? Made her better. That had been his constant refrain. Mia wasn't good enough on her own, her clothes, her friends, her writing, her ambitions. All needed Tyler's improvement, Tyler's approval. You didn't make me better, Mia said, surprising herself with the steadiness in her voice. You made me smaller. Tyler's eyes narrowed. You ungrateful. The elevator stopped on the 10th floor, and the doors opened to reveal Leo, apparently on his way down. He took in the scene instantly, Mia backed against the wall, Tyler looming over her, and stepped inside, positioning himself between them. Ms. Chen, he said casually, as if they hadn't just parted minutes ago. I was hoping to catch you. You left your reference letter from Professor Martinez. He handed her a folded piece of paper. Mia took it, confused. She hadn't submitted a letter from Professor Martinez, but played along. Thank you. I would have been looking everywhere for this. Tyler glared at Leo, clearly annoyed at the interruption. We're having a private conversation here. Leo turned to him, his expression pleasant but his eyes hard. Are you interviewing at Horizon as well, Mr. Donovan? Tyler Donovan. And no, I'm not. Then I'm afraid you're not authorized to be on this floor, Leo said, his tone still casual but with an unmistakable edge. Horizon has a strict security policy. Visitors must be accompanied by staff at all times. Tyler's jaw tightened. I'm with her, he said, nodding toward Mia. Ms. Chen is a candidate, not an employee, Leo corrected him. She doesn't have authorization to bring visitors. The elevator reached the lobby, and the doors opened. Leo gestured toward the exit. I'll have to ask you to leave the building, Mr. Donovan. Unless you'd prefer I call security? Tyler looked from Leo to Mia, his expression darkening. For a moment, Mia thought he might argue, might cause a scene. Then he stepped out of the elevator, his movements stiff with anger. "This isn't over, Mia," he said, his voice low. "We need to talk." "Actually, it is over," Leo said, stepping partially in front of Mia. "And Ms. Chen has made it clear she doesn't wish to speak with you. I suggest you respect that." Tyler's face flushed with anger, but something in Leo's stance, calm, unintimidated, immovable, made him think better of whatever he'd planned to say. With a final glare at Mia, he turned and stalked across the lobby. Leo pressed the button for the 14th floor, and the doors closed. Mia let out a shaky breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Leo shook his head. "No need to thank me. That guy's a piece of work." Mia unfolded the paper he'd handed her. It was blank except for a phone number written in bold strokes. She looked up questioningly. "My cell," Leo explained. "In case he bothers you again. Or in case you want to talk about writing. Or both." He smiled, the warmth of it reaching his eyes. "No pressure either way." The elevator stopped at the 14th floor again. Leo held the doors open but didn't exit. "You were right, you know," he said. "About what you told him. He didn't make you better. He made you smaller." Leo's gaze was steady, sincere. "The right people in your life will always help you grow, Mia. They'll never ask you to shrink." With that, he stepped out of the elevator, leaving Mia to descend to the lobby alone, his words settling into her heart like seeds finding fertile soil. 3 days later, Mia received the call offering her the position at Horizon Publishing. She accepted immediately, a mixture of excitement and trepidation coursing through her. The job was everything she'd hoped for, a foot in the door of the publishing world, a chance to learn from experienced editors, to be surrounded by stories again. But it also meant seeing Leo regularly. Leo, who had witnessed her at her most vulnerable. Leo, who seemed to see through the careful facade she'd constructed. Leo, who had stood between her and Tyler without hesitation. Her first day was a whirlwind of orientation meetings, paperwork, and introductions. Sophia would be her direct supervisor, showing her the ropes of manuscript evaluation and author correspondence. Mia was relieved, and, if she was honest, a little disappointed, that she wouldn't be working directly with Leo, whose department handled more established authors. At lunch, Sophia invited Mia to join her in the break room, where several other editors and assistants gathered around a large table. The conversation flowed easily, touching on current projects, industry gossip, and book recommendations. Mia found herself relaxing, even contributing a few observations about recent bestsellers that earned appreciative nods. Leo entered as Mia was describing her thoughts on an experimental novel that had divided critics. He took a seat across from her, his presence immediately drawing attention. "Leo, perfect timing," Sophia said. Mia was just giving a brilliant analysis of the Nakamura book. "The one you've been championing." Leo's eyes met Mia's, warm with interest. "I'd love to hear your thoughts, Ms. Chen." Put on the spot, Mia faltered momentarily. Tyler had always interrupted her literary analyses, had dismissed her interpretations as trying too hard to sound smart. But the faces around the table showed genuine interest, and Leo's encouraging nod gave her the courage to continue. "I was just saying that what critics are calling structural flaws are actually deliberate choices that mirror the protagonist's fractured perception," Mia explained, her voice growing stronger as she elaborated on her theory. When she finished, there was a moment of silence before Leo spoke. "That's exactly what I've been trying to articulate to the marketing team," he said, his admiration evident. "You have a remarkable eye for intentionality in narrative structure."